Anybody doesn't know me, I'm Dasha Jamison, Vibrator of Pastel Society of Nevada. So we have about 30 people who RSVP'd to the meeting. We're doing it this way. So we know how many people are coming and what we can accommodate everybody. So more people joining us. We are recording this meeting so people who are joining us later can view it. And we started our YouTube channel. So all the interviews what we done last year now uploaded to YouTube. Some of them raw, some of them edited, so you can see that. We will wait for a couple more minutes and we have people joining us from all over the world here. Sonia Allain from Scotland, Sharon from Arizona, Sergey from Finland, Leila from Switzerland, David from Las Vegas, Matty from Spain right now.
Let's turn the sound up.
Jimmy. Annie was able to join, so
yeah.
And today we have a very special guest. It's Joe Baker. He is known as Mr. Show Some Meat. And in a couple of minutes, I will ask everybody to mute yourself. And we're going to do Joe Baker presentation, going to show some of his art and talk about Show Submit and about how he started his journey as pastel artist and what he's up to right now. We have a chat, so if you want to talk among each other while you're being muted, you can just use the chat. And if you have any questions or want to ask something, please use chat. So for right now, I will ask everyone to mute themselves and let me share some art by Joe. Just a second here. Technologies are fun, so just a second, guys.
In half a mile, use the right 2 lanes to exit right.
So Joe shared some of his amazing pieces with us. And this one I was first time seeing at IAPS. And if you have a chance, watch Richard McKinley talk on pieces what were accepted at IAPS Dunedin exhibition. He's talking wonderfully.
Exit right to I-40 Durham.
And if you're not muted, please mute yourself. I think I found. So very diverse pieces by Joe. And let me bring Joe on a big screen. So you can switch also to the speaker view. Hi, Joe, how are you?
Okay.
So thank you for agreeing to be our guest today. Please tell me, how did you start with pasteling?
Well, that's a good question. I didn't start painting actually until I was 45, which is nearly 30 years ago now. Although I grew up in a family with plenty of artists in earlier generations. But I started with watercolor because I thought it looked so easy. And as some of you may have realized, like I did, it was the other way around. It's the hardest there is. So I became an oil painter for a number of years and really loved that. And through oil painting and our local art organization, I got to know a fellow named Frank Federico, who painted in all mediums. And he wanted to give a pastel workshop to our local art group. And because I like Frank and his teaching style, I went, and I'd never done pastel before. And that was about 15, 16 years ago. Can't quite exactly remember what year it was, but it was through Frank that I got started. And actually, Frank and I became very good friends. He lived about an hour from me. He passed away about 3 years ago. But while he was still alive, we did a lot of things together. We went painting. We hung shows with each other. We went to workshops. I got to know his family a little bit, and he was a very good friend and a good inspiration. And through him, I got involved with Connecticut Pastel Society also, and which some of you may know about. And it's about an hour and a half. The center of that society is about an hour and a half from where I live in Western Massachusetts. And so I've been involved since then. I've been involved with CPS, Connecticut Pastel Society, and did a lot of. I've been a computer guy for a long time. So after a career as a violin maker, I became a computer person, and so I did the Connecticut Pastel Society website. And it's through working for them that I initiated what's now Show Submit. So,
and now almost any show what you want to enter is on Show Submit. So if you're pastel artist and if you want to show your work to the entire world, that's the place to go. And by the way, IF's deadline is coming up. So it's April 10th. Week away. If you haven't entered IF's show, please do. And that's a one-stop shop. You go to Show Submit, creating your profile and entering the shows. Just please read prospectus, right?
yes, you should read the prospectus first for sure, and absorb it and understand all the directions and the implications. It's not difficult, just some things you need to know. And the deadline is a week from today. So if you haven't already got some works in order for that, you better get to work. Tony, I'm talking to you. You better get to work. Yeah, actually this year at IEPS, there are 2 shows that it's a gallery show in Chicago. And at IAPS, I'm also part of the IAPS board. I forgot to mention that. We have decided to split the entries into the show into 2 separate shows. So one is for everyone who has not yet achieved Master Circle status in IAPS. And the other one is for Master Circle artists. So you have to be sure you click to enter the correct show. When you go
and
to
you're talking again to Tony, right?
Yeah, Tony knows what he's doing. He'll be all right. He's entered a lot of shows. He knows how to do it. But people can get confused, and we try to make it very clear what's what. So, but just pay attention to that. Just like reading the prospectus, pay attention to what button you're going to click, and you'll be okay.
And also, while you're entering IEP's show, there is a button. You need to select Pastel Society, what you belong to. I know with it being so universal, you can belong to multiple pastel societies. But if you pick Red Rock, we will be very happy to celebrate your successes. So please pick Red Rock in a drop down if you're considering us your home pastel society. And home, it's where your heart is, right? And your pastels.
That's right. Good sell, Dasha. Very nice.
Well, I guess there is something I'm good at.
Yeah.
So that's about IF show. We also have Red Rock show, what's going on right now. And Tony Allain is a kindly agreed to be judge of awards. And after our talk with Joe, we will let Tony to say what he is not looking for in artwork, what submitting to the show. And we have wonderful team of jurors, Corey Pitkin, Karen Margulis, and Lena Ballett. We had interview with Lena recently, and it's all on our Instagram. So you can find it on our Instagram. And I was enticing Joe talk to me on Instagram, but he is not ready to go there yet. So that's why we have a pleasure to all be on this wonderful Zoom call and talk to Joe. So I get to ask you my pastel question. If you go to the deserted island and you have to bring with you just 2 brands of pastels, which ones would you bring?
Wow, that is a tough one. I would bring Giraud and Ludwig.
That's probably a lot of us choices. They are versatile, and we're grateful what both of these brands is sponsoring our upcoming show. So that's great.
Perfect. Yeah.
They are both wonderful, and I'm working on getting Karine from Giraud to do a tour of their store, but in France they've been a little bit quarantined, so we don't know if it's gonna happen before our deadline or after, but I'm working on it.
Good for you.
Let me ask you, what's your favorite surface? Not the deserted island, but what's your surface, what you prefer to work on and why?
Good question. I have a lot of favorite surfaces, but I guess if I had to pick one, it would be UArt, which I find very consistent, and for my style, it works very well. As you've seen from my paintings, I tend to be fairly loose and slap on a lot of pastel and move it around, and UArt works very well for that. Although I do like other things. I like pastel matte quite a lot, and but UArt is versatile, and I tend to do a lot of liquid underpaintings, and is very good for that. And here's something I learned from Frank Federico, who I mentioned earlier. He taught me this in preparing a surface just on watercolor paper, coating it with gesso with pumice in it. Many people are familiar with that technique of making your own. But then having done that, thin down some acrylic paint and paint the surface whatever color you want with that acrylic paint. And his favorite was a bright yellow, a warm, bright yellow, like cadmium medium or cadmium light. And so UArt responds very well to that treatment, just painting it. I often do that. I'll mount it on a piece of museum board or something and paint it with acrylic, a bright yellow, and with or without an underpainting, it's a great surface to work on.
Do you do your own mounting? Do you mount your pieces yourself, or?
Yeah, I do. I bought some of that. Oh, I'm not going to remember the name of it. It's by 3M. It's an adhesive that comes in a roll with a paper backing.
Yeah, okay. Christine Dabrowski introduced me to that. Yes, you buy it in a rolls and you can do it yourself. It's free and archival and all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, once you get the hang of dealing with it, it's very easy and not messy. And I made the mistake of starting to use it without reading the instructions. Typical guy, I guess. And I made a big mess. So then I went back and I read the instructions and I said, now I see what to do. So now I got it down. But I don't mount everything that way, but some things I do that. Yeah.
And you mentioned UArt, but what grid do you use?
I like 400 the best, but I use different ones. I'll take whatever I can get, but 400 is my favorite.
Thank you, Joe. And I showed your paintings, and when you sent them to me, I was amazed how different they are. And can you kind of tell your art journey, how your style is evolving, and how would you describe it?
Well, yeah, it's a journey, I guess. I'm getting away from a lot of strict representationalism, although I still definitely have one foot in that room. You can see a couple little pastels on the wall behind me there that I did earlier this winter. They're representational in subject matter, not so much in color, but and you know, I think maybe it's possibly through doing show submit where I see thousands of images every year coming through, going into entries. I'm exposed to a lot of paintings. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like so much, but I see a lot. And I think actually, I'm not sure if it's good, but I think that affects what I do. And it makes me get away from what I'm comfortable with and try some things I'm not so comfortable with, moving toward more abstract in general. And certainly giving myself the freedom to get away from what's actually right there in the subject matter.
Thank you, Joe. I was actually wondering how many thousands of pieces you think. It's like going to Louvre every day, right? So
yeah, it can be overwhelming, especially when there's a big show like the IAPS one coming up. You know, they're just every day there are hundreds of images coming in. And I don't just do pastel shows with Show Submit. I do other art organizations as well. And so some photography, some sculpture, oil painting, acrylic painting, watercolors, drawings, colored pencil, yeah, all this stuff, and some fabulous things that come through. Some, as I said, I don't like so much, but some are just really inspiring what people do. So it's stimulating in a way, but also overwhelming in a way, if you can understand that.
yes, thank you for sharing. And I always was wondering, does it affect you? I mean, it cannot not affect you, especially knowing what you as an artist. And I want to thank you again for hosting Show Submit, because we barely knew Pastel Society. So it's our third year. We will be 3 in, I guess, September. So it's our third show what we're hosting too. And it was wonderful. I don't know how would I do without you, but you make a process seamless. I always have you to help with members who may have challenges. I can always refer them to library on how to crop images, on how to name them, on how to do everything. So it's just, you're making it way too easy on us. So thank you for.
Well, I try to. Thank you for the compliments. And it's gone through an evolution. Show Submit has. It started very small and gotten a little bit bigger. It's still just me, and I'm getting to the point in my life where I can see a wish to move on to not doing Show Submit anymore. So if anybody out there knows anyone who's a computer programmer of sorts and looking for a business to acquire, you can put them in touch with me. And
oh, that's
I'm
some
still doing it.
insiders
I'm still doing it
information
for a while.
right now. So, but I have a wish, you know, like if you can have for show administrators, like admin panel, you probably have one. But if I could see everything what coming in, that would be fantastic. So before you hand your business over, there are some requests on improving.
Okay.
Guys, if you have questions to Joe, you can type them in the chat. You can unmute yourself and ask him before we move on to the next part of our meeting. Joe, if you want to share anything, some words of encouraging for people who are entering the show, that would be great too.
Sure. Yeah, well, most people who are entering the pastel shows these days are familiar with the process, and the real stumbling block for most people seems to be how to resize your images, how to use the computer software to do that. And the software changes so fast and the people's devices change so fast that as soon as we get one set of instructions made, it's not really relevant anymore. It's really frustrating, but most people seem to manage okay. And I'm always here to help out. If people have trouble, they can get in touch.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, guys. I will encourage everyone to again enter IF show. It's the nearest deadline of April 10th. Please, after that, focus on entering Red Rock show. Please do pick Red Rock as your Pastel Society. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. It's contact@redrockpsnv.org, and Joe Baker's email is on Show Submit website. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And if you have any challenges, also don't be quiet. Please let us know if you have any challenges in the entering process, and we will be there to help you. And as Cindy Gillett wrote in her blog, don't wait to the last day to enter the show, because you never know what's going to happen. And we have that story on our blog. So do not miss deadline because lights go off or something. So give yourself some space to not be stressed in the last minute.
Yeah, don't set yourself up for stress at the last minute. One thing I will mention is that on the Show Submit site, there's a page in the menu at the very top called Photo Preparation. And on that page, we have links to some tutorials and step-by-step instructions on how to prepare your images. So if you're not familiar and not comfortable, or you run into trouble, you can look there. There's several different software platforms that are covered. So you can choose the one that's appropriate for you.
Thank you, Joe. And let me ask a couple of questions, what I usually ask my guests on Instagram interviews. Who is your favorite artist? Doesn't have to be pastel artist, contemporary or classics?
Wow. I'm not sure how I can answer that, really. I have a bias toward a family member who was a well-known American impressionist of the Boston School, a man named Frank Benson, in the early part of the 20th century. He died before I was born, or just after I was born. So I never knew him, but he's my great-grandfather's brother. So I have a little bias toward him, but I have many other favorite artists. So I can't really limit it to one person. Sorry. Tony Allain is right up there.
Thank you. And on that note, I will give word to Tony Allain. Thank you, Joe, so much for joining our Red Rock meeting, and thanks again for everything you do.
One thing, Dasha, I see on the chat, someone's asked a question about, is there a limit for an image size for uploading? And you wrote, yes, you think it's 2 megabytes, and I just wanted to concur with that. It is 2 megabytes, the file size, and that is a limit imposed by the web server. It just won't take a file that's larger than 2 megabytes. So that's why we have that. I've got to let my dog in the office. Excuse me, I'm just gonna, wait a minute.
And spotlight is on Tony Allain. So here is some insider's tip for everybody who is entering the show. Thank you for this enter, Joe. I hope you will stay with us for remaining of the meeting too.
Oh, is it me? Am I on?
Yes.
Oh.
What you're not looking for into the award-winning images?
Well, actually, Dasha, hi everybody, and thanks Joe Baker for that wonderful plug of Tony Allain pictures.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Dasha, now that's an interesting question that needs to be answered. But I think the easiest thing for me to do is to explain what I'm actually looking for, not what I'm not looking for. That would be a bit too, I'd come up with all sorts of crazy ideas. But what as a judge, there's certain criteria that I sort of stick to. I try to stick to anyway. And I've had the pleasure and sometimes the pain of judging, I guess in 2020 and even in this year, 2021, I think I've judged at least a dozen exhibitions, online exhibitions, which has been great fun. And also it's been very rewarding for me because I get to see works of art from all over the world. But I guess that what, like you all know that basically I'm a landscape painter. That's where my passion is, of course, and that's why I became an artist. However, I still enjoy to look at work by portrait artists, by wildlife painters, surrealist painters, and also photorealism, which I admire the skills and the insight of what people can see. But I think all art, whether it be music, theatre, literature, or the visual arts, I think should have some basic and important ingredients. And I always list the 3 ingredients. You may have heard me mention this before, but I think it's very important. And apart from obviously a good composition, a good use of values and colour and perspective, the ability to draw, the ability to I mean, to me, drawing is the ABC. Excuse me, the ABC of painting. It's the language of painting. And so, apart from all of those obvious attributes that we need to look at, or I need to look at as a judge, there are 3 really basic ingredients that I really look for, and not in any order, but it's revelation, celebration, and communication. When I mean revelation, I mean I think an artist should have their world or their surroundings reveal itself to them through their painting, so that they can then reveal it onto others. And so, I always try to do that when I'm painting, whether it's in the studio or whether it's on location. And I think communication, obviously, once an artist has taken in their world or their concept, their vision, then they should be able to communicate. And I think a painting, especially a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional painting, should communicate with its public in the way that the artist may have seen their world or their vision or whatever it is that they choose to paint. And so those are the 2 most important criteria that I look for. And of course, the last one is the celebration. And I think all art should be celebrated. Again, whether it be music, theatre, writing, literature, painting, sculpture, it should be celebrated. We should be able to celebrate, the world about us, the natural world, the human figure, for instance, and even innate objects like in still lifes and abstract. I do enjoy looking at abstract work, although I'm definitely not an expert on that in that genre, but I do enjoy looking, because I like to explore. I want to be drawn into a painting. I want the artist to involve me in their work. I want to see work that allows me maybe to fall into the painting and to fill in maybe some of the details that the artist has left out. So and so that's why I think, you know, those three important items in the recipe of invite me into the painting, invite the viewer into the painting. I mean, how many times have we been to an exhibition, especially a live exhibition, and seen, you know, there may be 200 or 300 pieces on the wall, but I'm sure we've all done it. We've walked past works of art that catch our eye, and we tend to, even when across the room, we tend to always look back and find that piece. And it's just, I think those are the three items, the three bits of magic that keep calling the viewer back to say, look at me, I'm celebrating, I'm communicating, and I'm revealing my world to you. So those are the sort of things that I look for in a painting. What not to look for in a painting? Well, that's a very dangerous area for me to go into. Oh dear, I'm not going to even think about going down that road, because I would not like to offend anybody and put myself in such a position. But that's why when I look at, and when I do judging, I must admit, if I do an online judging through Show Submit, I will spend possibly, usually get about 14 days from start to finish. And I genuinely, hand on heart, will go to my computer every single day and run through the whole process, day in, day out, for the next 14 days. So I give myself the opportunity to be fair, and I also, hopefully, am fair to the award winners, because some paintings end up in my award-winning box, others don't. And then the next day I go through all the award winners, and then I go through all the unaward winners, and sometimes they get moved around. And so it is a long process for me to go through. So there is no secret to how to win a first prize. I was very lucky to have that painting win an award. Actually, it's won 2 awards. And this was almost a plein air painting. It's just down the road from where I'm in the studio. This is Benny Beggs here, framed up at 20 by 26 or something like that. But I was very pleased with the painting, because if you go to the scene here that's not got the snow, and it's just a regular wet and drainy day, you would drive past and walk past this farm many times without noticing it. But it revealed itself to me on that particular morning while I was there, and I stood in the road. And thankfully, the road wasn't busy, because it was 8 inches of snow. And I did my sketching, and I came back to the studio and created that painting. So that's what I'm talking about. You get you know, I've got the revelation. It revealed itself to me, and then I wanted to communicate what I saw that day to the rest of the planet. So there's hopefully that will help you. I'm not going to tell you to go out and paint 3 lovely chickens that are, you know, are happy feeding on corn, or a still life with drooping grapes and lobsters and what have you on a big silver chalice. Or even a lady who sits there with her arms crossed, and every time you see her, her eyes follow you around, and her name is Mona. I can't tell you that those are the sort of paintings that you should be painting. But what I can say is that you must paint from the heart. I think it must come from within. I think you must be able to think about those 3 items that I've mentioned in what I call my recipe for a good piece of artwork. And be true to yourself, paint and basically exhibit what you think is your best painting that you've done recently. That's what it's all about. You mustn't think, Tony Allain, oh yeah, well, he's a bit of a loose landscape painter. Yeah, he likes a bit of color, so let's do a bit of that. that might not wash, you see, all the time. So, and you know, I've thought about that many times when I enter a show. Oh yeah, so-and-so, oh yeah, Jackson Pollock. Well, I better do an abstract, I think. Yeah, he might like that. So please paint what you paint in your style, your best painting that you can produce for that particular week or a show. You'll be surprised because don't go out and think to yourself, I'm going to have to paint my best painting tomorrow. And you keep trying. And the more you try, I think the worse it becomes. I think if you just keep painting, you keep painting, then all of a sudden you'll look at your little collection. You may have half a dozen pieces and you think, darn it, that's a good painting. That worked really well for me. I'm happy with that. You know, that's spoken to me. That's communicated with me. Let's hope it communicates with somebody else. I could go on for ages and ages, but I hope that that there's one or two pointers there that will help you in your future work. So let's talk about it. The first thing is you paint from the heart, from within. You must paint what you paint. What Mr. Artist or Mrs. Artist or Miss Artist, you paint what you paint, and you paint to the best of your ability. Think about how the world reveals itself to you, or your subject, how it reveals itself to you, so that you can paint it and reveal it and communicate with others. And then also the last thing is you celebrate the subject that you've painted. You celebrate the world around you, the natural world, the human figure, whatever it is you're painting. It should be a celebration. And those are the three things that always tick over in my head when I'm a judge. End of lecture. I think I've got something here that says end. Okay. Any questions? I hope not, because
I even muted myself so I wouldn't interrupt this beautiful speech. Thank you so much.
Can you give an 3 criteria? Well, Sharon, that's well, I think let me just move that. Where is Sharon? Oh, there she is. Well, Sharon, I think it was easy enough for me to mention about this particular painting.
Yes. Actually, I thought you did a good job of explaining the first one, Revelation, on that painting. Can you do celebration and also communication for the same painting?
Yeah, I think so, because you know, I think I said on a regular day, you just drive past this place.
Right, right.
Because of the snow that was there and the shadows and the time of day, and it was a revelation to me to see it. I thought, wow, look at this, Benny. I've never noticed Benny Begg's farm before. You know, I just keep past it, and it's full of cow muck and what have you. But it was just the perfect situation for that, and it was early morning, and so yes, it revealed itself to me, and I wanted to get back home to the studio pretty quickly after doing lots of sketches to paint it, and so. And I felt that it was, and I said to my wife, listen, I brought it down to the studio. I said, you need to see this, because tell me where that is. And she said, I'm not quite sure. I said, that's Benny Begg's, just around the corner, just along the road. And she looked at it and she said, my God, I didn't realize that avenue of trees leading up to the farm. And it was, everything was there, you know, it made a great, so I celebrated in the simple fact that this everyday subject that had revealed itself to me, and with the use of values, color, tone, perspective, and the ability to draw it, of course, and to compose it, that I could celebrate that, you know, Benny Begg's farm. I wonder if the farmer, he probably hasn't seen it, it's probably till out milking his cows, but I wonder if he would say, well, actually, my farm looks pretty good, you know, in the snow. I hope that's answered your question, Sharon. It's difficult, but when I do look at works of art and I judge, I do have this in the back of my mind, you know, does that speak to me? Does this image, this painting or whatever it is, or this piece of sculpture, does it communicate with me? Can I see that? First of all, can I see the skill? We mentioned before the skill, the composition, the perspective, you know, all the technical things has to come into it as well. And that's where, when I judge, of course, I do say that I go backwards and forwards each day, and I look at, you know, all of these issues in my recipe, but I also look at, hey, now this is a good composition. You know, it's very easy to slip over when you're judging, when you're looking at, say, I mean, I did the Dakota Arts summer, I think it was the summer show. There was 1,100 paintings I had to go through. That's a lot of paintings, and that's why it took me at least 2 weeks every single day. And you know, you tend to miss a few things, and that's why I keep going back and say, actually, I need to look at each one really, you know, objectively and check it all out, because there are some you think that is a good composition. My God, look at the values in that one, you know. So I like to be fair. I really like to be fair, and you know, I'm a fairly loose and impressionistic painter, but I mean, some of my awards have been of photorealist work and portraits, and I can appreciate the quality that artists can produce, especially when they're not painting in the same genre as me. And so and I think it's probably because I've been painting for the last 58 years, I guess, every day, and I've amassed a certain skill of seeing work. The other thing that I'm not very good at remembering people's names, Sharon, but what I am good at is I have a good memory recall for images. And I know, and I have seen over the many years I've been judging, I have seen work that I know has been copied from the classics. And I look, I say, I know that painting. I can go straight to the library and find that painting. And so, so it's very, they can't, I've got this, like I say, I've got this amazing ability to remember paintings. You know, I go through books and magazines and art, like we all do. And it sort of goes in there, you know. I forget people's names, of course, but images seem to stay locked in here. And there's one or two, and I'm going back at least 6 or 7 years that I've seen a work of art. I didn't judge it, but I saw it and I thought, that surely that's not an original. I know it's not an original. I've got it in my book here somewhere, you know. And I said to my wife, look, see that? It's in the book here. It's painted by, I don't know, we'll say Chagall or whatever. And there it is. It's just won a prize. So be honest with yourselves, you know, paint from within. It's very important. You paint what Sharon Fry paints, or you paint what Liz Weiner paints, or you paint what Cindy Gillett or Tony Allain or Dasher. You paint from within. I think it's very, very important.
We've had other artists that talked about their judging, and a lot of them say that when they first get all the images, they sort of look for big shapes initially and sort of pick out those paintings that sort of jump out with big shapes, big distinguished shapes first. Is that an issue with you or no?
No, it's not. No, it's not an issue, Sharon. I tell you, the first thing that hits me is the skill, the drawing, and the ability to draw the object or the shape or the landscape, and also the way the values and the colors can relate to each other. That's really important to me. That's what I really look at straight away. You know, it's like you flip through and you go, wow, that is really good. I mean, I judged an exhibition no more than 4 weeks ago, and there was one particular painting. It was just a little portrait, and when it hit my screen, it really leapt out at me, and I could see the colors and the values of this portrait, the way the person, I could tell it was done from life. It's just wasn't from a photograph. I knew it was done from life. And I looked at this painting and I kept seeing it, and it really, really spoke to me because of the way the subject, the person had painted this portrait. There was lots of lost and found edges. There was just the important detail that hit the eyeball, the color that was in the face, and it was just an amazing painting. And I flipped through, and of course I went through the other 200 paintings. But I know in the back of my mind that one's going to come somewhere, and then I go, oh my God, there's another painting here. Now this is a landscape. Oh, now look at the quality of draftsmanship and the way the values are set, just pitched perfectly, and so that gets put into the memory box. So and I think it is painting from the heart. I can really tell when artists put everything they've got into it, and that's when I say painting from the heart. Choose your best work that you the author have created, not that you've seen other people paint. It's very easy. Oh my God, I mean, you say, oh God, yeah, well, so and so painted like that, so I think I might just have to do a subject very similar to that. I think that's the wrong way to go. I think you need to paint because it will all.
Tony, I have a couple of questions. Thank you so much for sharing. I have a couple of questions in the chat. One is regards your painting. Carrie is asking, how many sketches did you do while on site? What made you decide which one to paint? So it's a question about your piece.
Oh, right. Oh, what happened there? What's going on? Something's just come up on my screen, but I don't. I'm trying to find my sketchbook of. It probably was just three sketches, three thumbnails. I got the wrong sketchbook out. Just one moment, Dasha. I seem to have lost Zoom. Oh, here we are. I'm back again now.
Zoom didn't lose you.
So this one here, yeah, I did about 3 thumbnails, 3 sketches. When I say thumbnails, oh, here, I'm doing this backwards. These are sort of like value sketches here. So I did about 3 of them. And
thank you, Tony. And there is more on sketching and gouache in our upcoming workshop. One for April 8th is sold out with Tony Allain, but we have kind of like interest list going on. If you want to be on early bird notice, please RSVP to the future catching client, the one what doesn't have a date set, and he will be first to know when next one is happening. Okay, so please, we have that system. I think it works really well. So check out our website for events, and there is one undated workshop with Karen, with Lena, with other people. So just with Sergey, and there is also Sergey's class. So just make sure you'll do that if you're looking for workshops to check out. Okay, and here is one more question from Nancy. It's okay to enter the same piece in more than one show. I will ask probably Joe to help me answer this one, and I will get back spotlight to Joe. Thank you, Tony, for your insight. So,
yeah, thanks, Tony. That was great. Yeah, that's a very good question. And back in the days of just physical shows, that wasn't an issue because the painting can only be in one place at one time. But now with virtual shows, it has actually become an issue. And a lot of painters kind of blithely just sent images off anywhere and everywhere, no matter what the overlap was in the shows, thinking, oh, what does it matter? It's just a virtual thing. Well, come to realize that it does matter. It affects the people seeing the shows, and in particular, the jury and the judges looking at the images for a show. So both IAPS and PSA this year for their shows have asked artists to consider this aspect of submitting paintings, which is if you're submitting a painting to a big show like IAPS or PSA, don't submit it somewhere else. If you don't get into the IAPS show or the PSA show, then of course you can submit it somewhere else, but they don't want their, and also if it has just been in a big show somewhere, such that many people will have seen it or been published in a magazine or a book, then that makes it difficult for the judges and the jury to overlook the fact that this painting has been around and people have seen it. So one aspect of this, for instance, for the IAPS jury to consider is IAPS really wants the jury to choose what would be called a unique and exciting show, something brand new, basically. So if they're looking at images that they know have been out in the world, have been published, or they've been splashed around for having won awards here or there, they're not likely to choose them. There's no rule that says they can't choose them if they don't want to, but they're less likely to take them because they're looking for something that's new and fresh to present for the show. And I believe PSA will have the same approach with their jury.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. Yeah,
go ahead.
And with smaller pastel societies and smaller show, that become a little bit of an issue with people who don't have enough works. Like if you work a lot, like Tony Allain, and painting 8 paintings a day, and 5 of them eligible to be into the show, that's great. But if you have like just several pieces, you have to pick and choose what shows you're entering. So
yeah, you do, and it's always been an issue when there are physical shows and where you're entering. It's like
yes,
3
and
you might get in. You always kind of had to juggle a bit. And I think really it in the end it's up to the artist what they have available and what they want to submit. Maybe they feel strongly that such and so image should be entered in such and so show. And at this point, there aren't specific rules that say, no, you cannot do this. But there are rules that ask you to consider.
It's more recommendation. Tony was going to say something.
I agree actually with what Joe has just said, because that painting there went into a members show, which I'm just a members only show, and it went into 2 different societies, one in New Zealand and one in California, and at the same time, and they were, and you're right, Joe, I was so surprised to think, oh, darn it, it's won an award in both of the shows. And so that was very embarrassing and very unfair of me to put it in. But I thought, hang on, this is just a members only show. And in reality, because it would have been, if it was a live show, there probably would have been 2 different paintings. But because I didn't have the opportunity to send work all the way to New Zealand, framed, and all the way to California at the same time, I thought, well, it's an online show, and I put it in. But of course, an online show, members only, means it ends up being worldwide. And so I've learned my lesson, and will take Joe's advice now that the next time I enter a show, it'll be brand new work. I mean, I've got enough to choose from here. You know, I paint every single day, and I've got a lot more paintings, you know, that could be that could have entered and will enter another show. Especially this one here, of course, will now be put into the archives and stay at home and end up in the lounge over the fireplace. The next one that will come out will be going to a show, hopefully. So I agree, and I actually hands up to say that I was guilty of that this time, without even thinking about it.
But I guess everybody is learning this way, and 2020 was transition year for everyone. A lot of physical show became an online show. So when you're entering the show, you don't know which one it will be. And that's fair to the artists who want to show their work everywhere they can. And while it was possible, you can. Now there is a rule, so you cannot. That's why we encouraging everybody to read the prospectus for the shows what you're entering. So we don't want any Red Rock members being penalized from the big shows for entering multiple ones. I don't think we will. It's not the goal to punish the artists. The goal is to have a diverse show for everybody. So it's pro artist and pro diversity, pro everything. So I don't think we're gonna mark you as not eligible for award anywhere, Tony. I think you're right. But please be considerate. And with deadlines coming up, I will make a spoiler, but we are considering to moving deadline for Red Rock show. We want our members to have a chance to enter the IF show and extending deadline to May 5th. My right hand is on vacation right now, so when Katya will get back, we will get new artwork for the show and with new deadlines and everything. We're working on updated prospectus, and also, so you will have till May 5th to enter. You will be enter your best work to IF show and prepare for Red Rock show and paint for Red Rock show, and also. Sharon made a great point in the chat, what especially paintings what are for sale shouldn't be more in one show, but I understand what people want to sell their work, and sometimes one show is not enough for paintings to be sold, so you want to show it elsewhere, and that's fine too. What we're doing this year, our show for Red Rock show will be at one show in two places at the same time. It will be on a Red Rock website, and also it will be in a local Las Vegas gallery, Alpha Voyage Gallery. So all works what entered for sale will be represented on gallery website. If you entering painting what it's not for sale, what it's been sold, or it's so precious to you, like that wouldn't make it to the gallery, it still will be eligible for awards, all kinds of good stuff. Just we're not gonna try to sell it in a gallery. And there is gallery will take also Tony's recommendation on which artists should they invite for solo exhibition there in Las Vegas. So that's one of the bonus awards, what not on the prospectus yet, but you can watch interview with Jeff Scully, owner of Alpha Voyage Gallery, what he's looking for gallery represented artist. So that's something new what we're doing, and we will be updating everybody with that information. But I think it's a cool bonus, and it will encourage you to enter work what is for sale and enter to the Red Rock. Right now, if you have access to internet, what is your oyster? You can enter New Zealand, California, Scotland, mall galleries, Dakota Art at the same time. And we wish you win awards in all of them. But we want to have a beautiful show too here at Red Rock. So I hope you will enter it. And I see poll, I guess it's a time to show our poll. So 11 people said what were Red Rock members and 4 people considering becoming a member. Just 2 people entered ISO, and rest waiting for the end of the week. I'm with you guys. Have you entered Red Rock show? 3 people already entered show, and I know 2 of them who did, and maybe somebody else did, I just didn't see it yet. Nancy and Anne, let me spotlight both of you, and I want to introduce our Facebook team, and after that I will give word to Mary and Sharon who want to promote their events, but let me introduce the team first. So please unmute yourself, and we have Facebook group team here. It's Anne and Nancy. So I lost Anne. Just a second.
Oh. Am I not here? Oh, there I am.
We can hear you. So sorry for putting you on the spot like that, but we have a great Facebook group team here, Nancy and Anne, and they took off with our Facebook group and made it grow like 300% in 2 weeks. And I think they are more in their pockets what they have to share. Tony Allain is also a member of Facebook group, and we hopefully helped him to find right tripod for his plein air adventures. So if you on Facebook, please join our group. I will try to, while I'm talking, give you a link to it. And it's interesting how Facebook does things. It has groups and also it has pages. So we have both, but group is more interactive and page is more informative. So you can, you feel free to post everywhere, but group is where all action is. So this is a group link. If you want to join it, we accept everyone. And if you want to invite artists, please accept anyone. And words to Nancy and Anne, like it's hard for me to stop talking, so I have to mute myself.
What?
I want you to invite people to join group and say what you're doing. So.
Well, I have invited all the artists that I know that are my friends on Facebook, and several have. So I was very excited about that, and I'm continuing to invite.
Me too. And I think we're trying to get some conversations started on the Facebook page to get people interested and hopefully follow and post their work. It's always great to see everybody's work in progress. So join.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you.
I'm muted and I've been talking, so please join and please invite your Pastel artist friends to join us. And I promise to give a word to Mary. She has some exciting events going on. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Sexton. I'm a member of Red Rocks, and I'm also a member of the Pikes Peak Pastel Society in Colorado Springs. We're having a Karen Margulis online workshop, May 3rd through 7th. She needs people to sign up by April 15th because she mails out a wonderful packet of goodies that are a lot of fun and very informative. She does a really great job. You get a series of videos to watch on your own time, and then there's a Zoom call for everybody to participate. The cost is $150 for the Pastel Society members, and then non-members $200. I put the link at the top of the chat if anybody is interested in the show, or not the show, the workshop. I did a workshop with Karen through Red Rocks a couple of months ago, and it was wonderful. It's a lot of fun, and it's spread out over several days. So you kind of watch and paint on your own time. And Karen is just so much fun to interact with. And she lets you email her with any questions during the week, or to have her critique your paintings during the week. So it's a wonderful opportunity if you haven't worked with Karen. Thanks, Dasha.
Thank you, Mary. And I have Sharon with Arizona Pastel Artists Association. She will invite you to join too.
Okay, well, I am also a member of not only your group, but I'm the president of the Arizona Pastel Artists Association. And we have sort of an unusual time for everybody to join and renew. It's May 1st. So anybody who joins now, I just upgrade them to 2022. It's not an issue. So don't be hesitant about joining now. I kind of keep track of who's joining and move you right into a year from now. And I appreciate the fact that we're neighbors and we can sort of work together and combine some of the things that we are doing. And yes, Anne, I saw that you joined in. I did upgrade you to 2022 already. Anyway, we have a lot of things. We do not meet. We have never met in the summer, mainly because a lot of our membership leaves town. They don't live here. So we've never really met in the summer. And in a way, Zoom has been a wonderful thing to happen for all of us because we can keep in touch anyway. And so we have a lot of things planned for this summer. But starting off with April 11th, which is our normal meeting date, we meet every second Sunday at 1 o'clock. We are going to have Rita Kirkman. We'll be doing a 1-hour demo. And for those of you who aren't familiar with her, she does these wonderful, colorful animals, usually sheep and cows and things like that, ducks and bunnies and whatever. And so she's going to be doing a demonstration for members who will get the link. So if you are interested in seeing that, go ahead and join, and I will, as I said, upgrade you. We also are going to promote our Facebook page. We have quite a few members, 378, I think, is what we had at last count. But we want to go ahead and grow some more. So we're going to have a 10 and 10 paint out coming up in more towards the end of April, early May, and to bring in more Facebook members. So if you're interested in doing that, it'll be for members. Again, just go ahead and join us on our website. And then this summer, we're going to do something really unusual. We're having a summer Plein Air virtual paint out. We're having 4 sessions so far. We could add a couple. We have a lot of members that travel during the summer. So what is going to happen is they are going to have Zoom sessions in the locations where they are traveling to. And anyone can join in, any of our members can join in and paint virtually the Plein Air scene. I think I'm going to be the first up, actually. And so I'm thinking about doing Morro Rock, which is in Morro Bay, California. And if it's not there, then we'll be up in Eureka, California at the wetlands or something. I don't know. We're going to be somewhere good. Anyway, and then Gary Binder, one of our past presidents, is going to be in Whidbey Island. And let's see who else. Linda Curtis, who is one of our members and is also a member of the Pastel Society of Oregon. She will be back in Oregon for the summer. So she's going to be hosting a Plein Air paint out from Oregon. And finally, Peggy Orban will be hosting one from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. So you'll just be able to link in and you'll see the scene. We'll talk about, we can talk and chat while you're painting and we're painting. And then in September, we're going to be showing all those paintings at our September meeting. So we have a lot of things going on right now, and we also have a lot of things planned for the fall. So if you're interested in being a member, we welcome you. That's
Thank
it
you,
for me.
Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. I just got message from our member, from Sergey Petila. He just got published in Plein Air Art Portfolio. So I will try to share screen with this beautiful magazine on publication, or I will include it in actually our newsletter. I was trying to share it, but for some reason I need to download it first, but he just got published with one of his pieces and I'm trying to being able to show, but it's not letting me to do so. For some reason, I don't have it in a presentation before. So if you guys want to share something, I'll add, with your permission, actually, I will add a link to this beautiful magazine to our chat, and you guys can take a look. Sergey, is that okay to do that? Можно я ссылкой поделюсь на Dropbox? I hope hope it's okay. So I'll just gonna do it anyway. So you can see that beautiful magazine in the chat. So it's just the easier way. And he has beautiful scene from the garden published in. If you have some news to share, please email them me the day before the show so I can prepare a presentation. And easy way to find it, I put in the chat our YouTube channel. So if you're not on Instagram and want to enjoy our interviews with artists, they will be there, and we're gonna add this meeting to YouTube in the future. If you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. We went a little bit over an hour. Some of you I will see on Thursday during Tony Allain's workshop. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And I'll see you soon. I'm gonna stay here for a few. If you have questions, please feel free, or if you just want to chat, okay? Thank you, guys. I'm gonna stop recording.